I think some of the biggest challenges for me, and this might not be for everybody, but my own limiting beliefs and fears really came up of, oh, I don't know. I didn't necessarily see myself as an entrepreneur in the first place. And I really learned as I went along. And then here I am going to start a second business. Like, who am I kidding? Um, but I really had to lean into, oh, no, I can do this. And it's, it's a learned skill and I'm doing it. Right.
Before we dive into today's episode, I want to warmly invite you to a free learning event I'm hosting with Joey Ragona. He is the founder of Strategic Business Coaching. He is a clarity master, and he's going to teach us some skills on how to find and get an audience ready to buy. If you're a coach, a therapist, or just somebody who's a mission-driven creator, and you feel stuck or you're not sure who you are talking to, hey, this webinar is from you, for you. It's not from you, it's for you. And it's happening March 24th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And you're going to walk away with just some real clarity and a plan that you can use to connect and start conversations with the people who would love to buy something from you. So go to the show notes for this episode. Joey's going to give you some great ideas. So join that webinar. I've learned so much from him. I just want you to experience some of what I've had by listening to him and get some clarity on who your ideal customer is. Hi, friend. Welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice. I'm James Marland, your course creation coach. I'm here to help therapists who want to scale their reach with effective online courses. I'll share with you all the tools, tips, and technology I've learned along the way that will help you put your mission in motion. The world is waiting for someone like you to take action. Hello and welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is your host, James Marland. Today, I have a special guest, Brenda Stewart. She and I met at the Wise Practice Summit 2 years ago, and I still follow her on social media, and she is starting a coaching and consulting program, all while also being a therapist and writing a book and all sorts of other things. I'm really pleased to have her on the show. I love her heart and her mission of helping people overcome the things that they have gone through. So Brenda, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, James. I'm privileged to be here and I'm excited about this time we get to talk.
So you already have a career, right? You're a therapist. You probably went to school for 8+ years or so for that. You've done all that work and you wanted to become you're expanding to consulting and coaching. So walk me through a little bit of the process of your therapy and your therapy work, who you work with, and then the decision of taking the next step to become a coach and consultant.
Sure. So I am a licensed mental health counselor in Florida and a licensed professional counselor in South Carolina. And then I don't even know if I've told you this yet, James, but I'm a certified tribal healer
Oh my
with
word.
Indigenous medicine.
Of course you are.
With the First Nation Medical Board. So
really? Okay.
I am. So that's been a newer thing this past year, but it's been wonderful so far. So
do you teach
some
any college courses in your free time?
Yeah, not yet, but it is on my list of things I want to do.
I love it. I love it because teachers got to teach, right? Like
that's right.
Yeah. So, anyways, right. you have all these things. Keep telling us.
Yeah. So I have a private practice in Florida, and I specialize in working with women who have experienced trauma, a lot of complex trauma or single incident. I'm a certified EMDR therapist, and then also eating disorders. So a lot of times those two go hand in hand. So those are my areas of focus in my therapy practice.
Yeah, those are heavy issues, right? Like trauma and eating disorders. But it sounds like you found a niche there with that. Mm-hmm. What attracted you to helping people with those types of conditions?
Honestly, it was my own personal story of recovery. And went through my own journey, my own battle of pretty severe eating disorder, and had people walk alongside me and lead me to the path of recovery. And I just became passionate about it. It's one thing to learn it from trainings or school or conferences. It's another to have lived experience of it
Wow.
and to be able to hold that hope out for people. And so I, did a career change, went back to grad school when I was in a solid place myself and became a therapist. And that
So
was
this is
really
like
the
a
passion
second
behind it.
this is a second career already for you.
I mean, yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
that just
Uh,
means I'm that old, James.
I turned 50 last year, so
Okay.
I understand the old. So you started a private practice in Florida,
Mhm.
um, and how long have you been in practice?
I worked for another
Oh,
company before, but my own practice has been 4 years.
okay. And as we were talking in the pre-show, you started doing some workshops and education for other people, and that sort of awoke something inside you. Can you talk about that and maybe some of maybe some of the fears or struggles, and then maybe when did the light turn on for you that you wanted to start pursuing that?
Yeah, so one thing you'll know about me is I'm an idea person, so I have to rein myself in a lot because I think on one test I scored in the 99th percentile for ideas and vision
Yeah.
and all of these things, and so I can go from one to another and then have another vision and dream and get myself really into overwhelm real quick. And so I had my private practice. I actually had started a group practice,
Hmm.
and had hired clinician, was hiring some more, had a admin that I had hired, and suddenly had a turn of events. I was diagnosed with an illness that required me to leave my office immediately because the office was toxic for me. And in so doing, I had to scale back to solo practice. And I had always had an interest in coaching. Um, Before I even became a therapist, my dad would always tell me, "You'd be a great life coach. You'd be a great, coach for
Hmm.
people." And so I was like, "No, I'm a therapist. I'm gonna be a therapist, and that's what I'm called to do." And so it had always kind of been tossed around and it was in there, but I was focused on being a therapist. And then when I had to sort of do an about face and turn around, I reevaluated things. This is about a year and a half ago and started to really pray and lean into, okay, what is this coaching and consulting? And I found that I love being a therapist and I still will be a therapist. But I do work with pretty heavy cases and
Yes.
complex.
Yep.
And so I needed some balance and really wanted my heart is to make an impact
Hmm.
and really mission minded. And so with having to stay within the state lines as a therapist and the licensing requirements and laws and all of the things, I wanted to be able to expand beyond that. And
Hmm.
so I became passionate. I really went into I like to have all my T's crossed and I's dotted, probably to a little bit of a perfectionistic degree. So I went through or I'm going through international coaching certification through ICF, to make sure I keep it separate and looked at, the separate businesses and really want to expand the impact and the offering of what I can bring.
Can you explain that coaching program to me? I think I've heard about it, but what is it and what attracted you to it?
Sure. Well, I'm the International Coaching Federation is a certification. They have an code of ethics, all of the
Okay.
things that can because coaching isn't necessarily have any standards or governing bodies, right?
Mhm.
And so this ICF offers certifications for coaches, and you go through training and have so many hours of practice, things like that.
Okay.
And
More
so I'm
supervision. That's the word I couldn't remember in the
supervision,
beginning,
yeah.
supervision. Yeah.
So I'm in one with Dr. Liz Lasky, who actually it's for therapists who want to become
Okay,
coaches.
that's kinda what I was wondering 'cause it's
Yeah.
gotta be different for
Mhm.
people who already have a license
Mhm.
already.
And it might not even mean, I mean, I know therapists who coach without a certification,
Mhm.
and, you know, that's probably fine too. I just wanna make I'm always wanting to make sure I'm doing everything how it needs to be and keeping it separate and
Mhm.
really understanding the nuances myself, so
Okay. Was there a tipping point when you're like, "You know what? I'm going to, make this decision to move forward," for you? I think we talked a little bit about your cases are heavy, like, the burnout is real. When I worked at the hospital, there were certain cases similar to what yours are that they're like, they would only take so many, of this type of case before they had to have a balance, and it sounds like
mhm.
you're trying to get a balance of, making an impact with what you want, but also there are some cases that take more time, energy, mental energy, and they're draining. So, was it the balance or was it something else that you're looking for?
I think there's a couple things. One is the balance. 2 is I feel like being in the therapy room utilizes a certain skill set that I have, and that I'll continue to lean into, but I felt like there was a part of me that I wasn't accessing as much of, that I also feel like I'm created to be and have the skills and the gifting to be able to do, and I wanted to lean into that more, and part of that is teaching. And, I would love to go back and get my PhD, but it's expensive, and so, that's not really in the cards right now, maybe in the future. And so I thought, "What can I do that involves bringing some teaching, some training, some things like that to people?" And so having the coaching consulting, I'm able to go in, provide workshops, do trainings for staff. I've done some for the Legal Aid Society, for some nonprofits on, the prevention and recovery of compassion fatigue. And then with the diagnosis that I have in my history of recovery from an eating disorder, I started doing research and study on the correlation between those two and really found that there's a high correlation. And so doing consulting and training for professionals treating trauma and eating disorders on how to screen their clients, how to identify the signs, things like that. So it was partly my own story, partly leaning into more of who I am. And then I ran a trauma intensive through my therapy practice a little over a year and a half ago. And it was one of my most favorite things I've ever done. I love doing program development and seeing the intensive work, bringing in the creativity and the interactive stuff. And so I thought, well, what's a way I can do this and go to different locations, or, I have my end goal dream, but I'm not there yet. And so I can do that if I do more of a coaching and a different population, um, and more of a retreat set. So it was wanting to lean into more, wanting to increase the impact and have more balance.
Yeah, because it sounds like there was some creative side, teaching side that wasn't being nourished, though you have that desire to help in that way. And then also there's a limit, like there's a hard cap for time for sure, but then there's a hard cap ish for how many people you can have that have a certain um, diagnosis or certain their needs are
Sure.
just greater.
Yeah, and sometimes, I was finding I'm seeing clients coming in who they don't fit a diagnosis,
Mm.
right? They don't have a diagnosable disorder for the DSM.
Mhm,
And I found what I was doing with them was a lot more coaching.
mhm.
And so I thought, if I'm doing this and these are some clients who are energizing me, then how can I expand this and not have to be within the confines of state line?
Mm. Yeah, and that retreat you did, the intensive, that's there's Jim Collins from, Great by Choice calls it "fire bullets than cannonballs," where you fire a short-term expenditure of resources, see if it works, make adjustments, fire again, and then when you're ready to invest heavily, you're already kinda, like, keyed in to the process that you've done. So it sounds like that first retreat or intensive was a like a test shot to see if it worked, and guess what?
Mm.
It did. It
Mhm.
energized you.
Absolutely.
So what's the next steps for you? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome to even get this far? What were some of the questions or things that, if somebody's going to follow in your footsteps, or they're really connecting with you, like, "Oh yeah, I want to be creative. I don't want to burn out. I want to help more people. I want to make an impact, but I'm not sure what to do." What were some of those challenges you had to overcome to get this far right now?
I think some of the biggest challenges for me, and this might not be for everybody, but my own limiting beliefs and fears really came up of, oh, I don't know. I didn't necessarily see myself as an entrepreneur in the first place, and I really learned as I went along. And then here I am going to start a second business. Like, who am I kidding? Um, but I really had to lean into, oh no, I can do this, and it's it's a learned skill, and I'm doing it right. And then the fears of, oh, what if it doesn't take off? And I'm investing all of this. Maybe I'm spreading myself too thin. All of the doubts, the fears, the questions, and really found that my own limiting beliefs were, the fear of failure, the fear of not being enough, or whatever that might be, were under that. So it's an invitation to really do another layer of growth personally, that also impacts professionally
I
for
mean,
one.
I'm right there with you. 3 years ago, as I was thinking about starting the course creation business, who's going to listen to me? I don't have a big audience. I don't have any resources created. No marketing, no social media presence, all the no's, comparing yourself to other people. Um, I'll tell you something that helped me, but how, d- that's a big cliff. What you're talking about is like, that's really tough to overcome. What made you take that first step? Like, was there was it talking to somebody? Was it
Mhm.
a therapeutic trick? Or, like, did you
Yeah.
read a book? Like, what happened?
You just swallow a pill and it's all better. No. Um, I did. I read a book, on therapists becoming coaches.
What is
Is
that
it
book? I want to put it in the notes. You
that's a
remember it?
great question. I think it's Therapreneur by
Therapreneur.
Carly
Okay.
it's by Carly Hill.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the exact name. I'll have to get it to you.
We'll find it.
Um,
It'll be in the show notes. I think that'll be a
okay.
great resource for people. There's many people in the same situation. Okay. So you
Yeah, so I
read a
read
book.
her book, and that was really I got really excited and felt, "Okay, this is something I wanna go down." And then I did a kind of business mastery 6-week course that started to help me identify the focus that I wanted to have in the business and ideal clients and all of that. And then I joined Jane Carter's business mastermind, and that's been so helpful because it's so action based. I can have the idea and put in the plan and write the course and do all of the things, but then it's like, fear stops me from implementing it. So that's been
Mhm.
really helpful, just having the accountability and having someone who's walked the road ahead, like a mentor saying, or a coach myself saying, all right, here's the steps. Here's, what you need to consider. Here's how to do these things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Often people don't want to put any money into coaching until they're starting to make money. But if you're running into a problem, how are you going to solve it? Like, if you built a restaurant or opened a restaurant and you're like, well, I'm not going to buy any food until the people come in, or I'm not gonna do any advertising for my business until I'm actually making money. You're not that doesn't work for other businesses. Why would it work for a coaching or consulting business?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
so I think coaching is important. I think one of the things that helped me a lot, and I'll have to dig it out. I have a handout on it. I'm sure it's in the blog somewhere. It's just it was an exercise of like writing down all your fears, and then on the left side, and then writing down on the right side what's a more realistic reframe. Like,
Yes, that's great.
it was from a Mike Michalowicz book. I can't remember which one of his business books.
Mhm.
He does business books. Did you know that?
Yes.
He's a great resource. And all the things on left hand side, like, I don't have an audience, but the reframe is nobody has an audience when they start. Like, I don't have any students. Well, nobody has any students when they start. Um, I'm not as big as whatever, pick a consultant, and it's like, well, they're 20 years in. Of course, you're not as big as
Right.
they are. Like,
Everyone starts somewhere.
yeah, everybody starts somewhere, and yeah. So I love that reframe. It didn't take away all the fears, but it also just made them more realistic. It
Mhm.
it wasn't like pie in the sky, rosy glasses, like everything will be great. You just make it and they'll come. But it did help with, some of your fears are a little bit overblown. Like,
Mhm.
you're making them you're making some assumptions that are not true. And so some every once in a while I do still think about that process, or when I have the imposter syndrome. Um and yeah, I did start investing coaching just like you did. Like, I started putting money into a couple classes here, and then a coach here, and then I'm in a year-long program now just to
Nice.
improve my skills. So
Mhm. I think it's so helpful and a good investment, and appropriate, when appropriate, an investment that is going to be so beneficial. I've found it beneficial. And yeah, those reframes are critical, right? Because our fears in our head can just get so huge, and then we stay alone in them. But if we put it on paper, or we can talk it out with somebody and engage in those reframes, it's like, "Oh, okay, I can do this next step." Right? And we don't need to look a year down the road necessarily. It's like, what's the yes, for planning purposes, but what's one step I can take today?
yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm reading Business by the Book right now with Donald
Mm,
Miller, and he talks about having two to-do lists. One is all the stuff that you gotta get done, and the other list is the top 3 things that you must get done today that move you towards your goal. Your brain can't tell the difference between the 2 lists, the important stuff, the busy work, or the important stuff. So if you have those things written down, you have action, not just motion. I really like that, doing the important things and
Powerful.
having the list.
Mhm.
Um,
Powerful.
I'm gonna have to listen to that book multiple, like, it is like it's like a business course in a book. So,
That's
anyway,
awesome.
so, in the last little bit here, can you tell us, like, what's next for you with your consulting and coaching practice or business, and,
Sure.
who would be an ideal client for you?
Absolutely. So my coaching business, it is a separate LLC, separate website, separate bank accounts, all the thing to keep it le legit. But it's Balanced Life Strategies, and kind of a play off my initials, BLS, so BLS Coaching and Consulting as well. And I'm going to be having 3 areas of focus. My ideal client for coaching would be the high functioning, high achieving person who also has a sensitive nervous system wiring and feels like no matter how much they do, they're just not quite enough. Um, and really coaching through that through different coaching packages and opportunities. And then I'll be creating some online courses, which I'm super excited about. That will be for people to be able to get and do at their own time, as they can and are able to. And then the consulting and training is more for nonprofits, veterinary medicine professionals, and various Christian ministries on the prevention and burnout of compassion fatigue. And so those are the kind of 3 arms that I'm doing right now, and retreats will be held for each of those areas of focus, for those populations. And eventually, I would love to have my own retreat center where I could host, whether it's therapy intensives or retreats, 3 to 5 day intensives or retreats for people, and just have it really a place of soul care. I think
Mm,
so many times people in the helping profession are pouring out, and it's emotionally and mentally exhausting, and if they are not poured into or caring well for their soul, then it's going to be a recipe for disaster, really. And so I'm passionate about helping the helper, or the high functioning person who is doing all of the things, wearing all the hats, and tending to their soul, letting them know they're seen and understood and that they're enough.
Mhm. That's that's great. Yeah, I think we really connect on the mission aspect of our businesses, like helping people live their best lives and be the most that they can be by helping them live out their mission, by helping them not
Yes.
burn out, by helping them put the things in place that they need to or take things out. Especially the people who are doing the heavy lifting in the social services, you know,
Yes.
the coaches, the consultants, the ministers, the social workers, um, the volunteers, all those people who are giving and giving, but who builds into them? Where can they get help and support? That's
Mhm.
really neat. Do you want me to mention the book, or should I not
Sure.
mention the book?
Absolutely. He's the little mascot on my logo and all the things, so
Oh, okay. So, one of the one of the things that excited me, when we started talking in the pre-show was you were making, you're getting ready to write a book, or you are writing a book. What can you tell me? Just give us a taste of what that is.
sure. I'm actually just about in the editing stage, so it
Oh,
is in process. It's gonna be a book on overcoming and specifically lessons learned from a blind dog. So if you go to my website, the Balanced Life Strategies, or see pictures on there, you'll see my Boston Terrier, Samson. And he, a couple years ago, had to have both eyes removed suddenly. And I watched him go from jumping after frisbees one day to the next morning being completely blind. And then over the course of a couple months having to have his eyes removed, and I was taking him for a walk one day just looking at how far he had come in a short amount of time, and I was like, "Wow, you're such an overcomer."
mm,
And then immediately it was like, these are lessons that we can learn from his journey of overcoming, and so as I'm passionate about helping people overcome whatever it is in their life, the limiting beliefs, the situations, the career struggles, stressors, um, the yeah, I figured let's do the book. So, writing the book and incorporating some therapeutic principles, coaching things, and lessons from my blind dog.
that's great. Well, we'll, keep us updated with that, when you
Will
release
do.
it. We'll definitely put a little note in the email and the webpage about that. It's really neat and really inspiring. Um,
Thanks.
Overcomers. Alright,
Yes.
so one last thing, where can people find you on the internet? Is there, a place where they should go to find out more about you and your services?
Sure, absolutely. My coaching website is balancedlifestrategies.com. I'm also on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at Balanced Life Strategies, and then we'll be up and coming a YouTube channel. So stay tuned.
Okay. Well, Brenda, it's been wonderful to have you at the show. Thank you so much for sharing with us and your guests and just being an inspiring inspiration to us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, James.
This is James for Course Creation Studio and the Scaling Therapy Practice. You can be an overcomer. It's now time to put your mission in motion.